All right, so y'all missed one of the best sales calls because it was with a smaller investor that had a student housing rental a couple miles away from campus, but in Marble City. And she wanted to interview me, Stonebrook Properties, to see if we were the next best team to be able to lease out that property for the next school year. I advised her that, long-term renting with her current rent is actually possible. I'll probably try to put some B film in this video of us talking. Sadly, the audio did not actually pull because this was hooked up to the Google Meet versus this recording. So still learning a little bit of how to use this desk, but as you can see, we were right here in my office and we were doing the sales call, and she was asking what were the expectations of her property. Right here, I'm going to show you on the screen is the property. It's a 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,200 square foot house. I like it a lot. So she has this house and she currently has it rented for $2,195, so almost $2,200. But she includes lawn mowing and the Wi-Fi in rent. She could achieve a long-term tenant at that number because she's in a great area. She's got a new asset. The only thing's hurting her, in my opinion, not really be hurting, but it would be a plus, is a fenced-in backyard, as I always say, and then the 1,200 square foot. So it is a small 3-2, but nevertheless, it is a 3-2. So I told her, I could only guarantee her $1.65 a square foot for a long-term tenant, which would be $1,980. And I would probably start it out at $2,100, but that's not including the amenities or utilities that she has in her current lease with her student rental. So I could probably list it for $2,000, but then have in there like $150, $200 utility cost for lawn care and Wi-Fi, and we could probably hit her number that she's already hitting with students, but with a long-term tenant at a 12-month lease that would be more likely to renew. You can't put these houses out and be prejudiced towards oh, I want a family, or I want college students, or I want a young professional. It's when we're talking about these terms, we're talking about who would be more likely to pay the money and say yes. A basketball is worth different money to different people, and depending on where that basketball's been, it can be sold for significant more. If the basketball had a signature of LeBron James, basketball's worth more. It's not just a basketball at that time. So it's about perception and value. So when it comes to this property, for the price she wants, she can get a lot of types of tenants that could be successful for her. And you want to open it up to everybody to stay completely legal and compliant with fair housing. There's no conversation with anyone trying to be prejudiced. But the reality is, if you're pricing it really high, the only people that are going to want to pay that price are the college students that are trying to find something more competitive than their on-campus housing that costs like $1,000 to like $1,100 per room. And hopefully we could achieve $750, on the high end $850 per room. I quoted her $750 being the lowest number that someone that's going to University of Tennessee or LMU, someone around the community would wish to pay, and that would be $2,250, so $55 more than what she's currently getting is what I said the minimum expectation of my job to go get her a lease with that number on it. But I also said we probably want to start out, because of the length of time that she has to market. She currently has tenants living in the property until May, and so we can pre-market this, show it to people while the tenants are living there, and then typically college students are looking for a lease to start around August. So we have right now we're in December, it's not even Christmas. So we can put this out for a really high number, work with people that are trying to be proactive about the 2026-2027 school year, and execute a lease where there's no loss of cash flow. That's the optimal play here. However, if she wants to get more into the long-term game finding, a price that more people would be interested in living long term. People that are looking to rent for 5-10 years is ideally the customer you want, assuming they treat the property correctly. That minimizes your turnover cost, as I put in a few weeks ago's video, along with having any vacancies. So between not having to do major repairs to get it prepped for the next tenant, and then also not having a loss of cash flow because we're assuming this tenant pays on time every month, otherwise they'd be booted, you actually make more over the next 10 years than if you sadly have months of vacancy, tons of turnover cost, and you're getting a couple $100 more a month with that college student that needs a temporary living space. However, you're eating all this cost. Is it really worth the revenue you're bringing in? With her expectations, the conversation really can go either way. Looking at the property now, as I said, $1.65 is minimum that we could get her for a long-term tenant. So the general market is what I'm speaking on, would pay that rate at $1,200 a square foot, which is $1,980. Because it's in Marble City, I feel really comfortable with that. Other investors, in less desirable areas, I'm quoting a little lower than $1.65 for roughly that bedroom bath count is what I'm speaking on. But this one, new asset, plenty of parking in the back. Pull up the photos here. That's parking right there. I don't know if they have another. But smooth layout, something that a lot of people are looking for. And if you're under $2,000 a month, let's just remember we have a big rule at Stonebrook. If it is under $2,000 a month, there's a more likely chance that we can lease it under 4 weeks than if it's over $2,000 a month. And that's because, let's take the magic number $2,000, multiply it by 2.5. What does that 2.5 represent? It means the income that we want to see to be able to easily approve an applicant. And a lot of landlords are leaning more towards the 3 times income. So I'm being, reserved in this number. So 2.5 times income multiplied by $2,000 is $5,000 a month. Well, multiply that by 12, $60,000 that we got to prove a year that applicant makes. At the $2,000 rule, we have just gone over the Knoxville median household income. Let's look up that Knoxville. So, quick search. Knoxville median's household income varies slightly by source and year, but recent figures place it around $50,000 city specific to over $80,000 for broader area county. So I've been working off that like $55,000 a year household income, and why we think that number is important to us. It's simply because that's the most amount of people in the market looking to rent. So if they can't qualify, they're probably not going to pay on time and pay consistently. And so when we come down to the performance of the property, your customer paying and being available in order to wish to pay, so the demand, and the supply of our customers, meaning how many are there, most of them are making $60,000 household income. So we want to price things accordingly for those families, those households, and those people, whether single or multiple people in the property, can afford and wish to rent the property. When you're going over 2,000, which a lot of the rentals we have are over 2,000, it's not to say it's impossible. You just need to know if it has that extra oomph, it should demand over 2,000. That can be square footage, bedrooms, location, multiple variables. But with hers, because of location, how nice the asset is, and she does have 3 bedrooms, we are significantly safe to say we can get over $2,000 with her property on a long-term lease. She also has lawn mowing and Wi-Fi, willing to give that away for quote-unquote free inside of that price. So we can certainly achieve those numbers. When she's looking at trying to get maximum number, the customer willing to pay the most is a student that's going to the University of Tennessee, wishes to be about 1 to 2 miles away from campus. When we price it significantly high, that's the most likely lead to hit into our CRM for us to nurture into a showing applicant, soon to be tenant. What is that number? And that's where we have the conversation of, man, low end $750 a bedroom, so times 3, so 2,250. High end, 850, so times 3 for the bedroom count, $2,550. So that is her window that she needs to achieve. Now she needs to find a property manager, realtor, or figure it out on her own who's going to be able to get that done the fastest, so that way she has no loss in cash flow between her current tenant and this future tenant. And that's why I advised her, maybe look into boots on the ground realtor. I'm more than welcome to help. I want to do it. I priced her high, and she is aware of that, because I don't want to have to put my labor hours, so my staff, on a property that the customer doesn't want us to long-term manage, because she explained that she had systems and she really liked self-managing, which completely respect. I always say, when you have one or two, it's certainly something that most people are self-managing. However, be careful about how you scale, because if you scale with backdoor deals with tenants, your fifth rental property, that guy knows the other four, but then he gets $100 off rent, and that's how you save a significant amount of money on lawn mowing. And you have 5 of those things across your portfolio. You have one Airbnb and it's in the middle of nowhere, so you have all these caveats with how you profit so much, and finding somebody to take that over, whether it be me, another property manager, will be very difficult, because unless you do it in-house and that investor starts hiring staff members inside of the company that owns these properties, she won't be able to find somebody capable of getting out to that niche Airbnb that's an hour and a half away from any city and changing the pillow sheets, and then also running around and being able to get to the door that the lawnmower guy wants his $100 for his 4 other lawns that he mowed, and all these backdoor deals that, at the time made a lot of sense for her to maximize her profit. They will have to change. Do things that are scalable, so that way you can hand off the tasks to somebody else sooner, and they will be successful at it. The higher niche decisions that you make per day, it's actually hurting you in the long run, because you cannot build something large. You look at the largest companies in the world, like Starbucks, McDonald's, and all the other fast food. The ones that do it right are like Chick-fil-A, where they only really have chicken on their menu. And so it's very simplistic of how to get the customer happy and what you're serving them. And so they can scale with high quality of service across the nation and slowly become one of the hardest competitors of McDonald's, not overnight, but through a decade of hard work. And so we can see from the big dogs in the business world that simplicity is what ultimately sells, because it gives predictability to the customer. And so she needs to build a predictable business model, whether that she contracts us or another property management company or hires in staff. No one can do unpredictable, niche, one-off deals. McDonald's is not going to go try to make a custom pizza in the back for that one customer coming through just to make that extra $10 because they didn't want a burger. They sell burgers, and they're good at making burgers. So get good at one type of rental and stick with it. You can have different arms, but just know, I don't do short-term property management. I manage 250 units, and I'm still not big enough to start looking at, diving into another sector of property management, because it would pull my current staff from what they're skilled at, what they're confident in, and what they enjoy, into a whole other ecosystem of hospitality. And so move slow. I'm talking to you as a realtor, as a lender, as an investor, as a wholesaler, flipper. Scale something up, sell one product, get a whole bunch of people doing it. Because if you can't make money at a repeatable activity and keep scaling that, you're probably in $50,000 to $250,000 short-term cash opportunities. And I know this video is going way in a different direction, but I say this all the time with my wife, because she also owns a business, and we see it in a lot of young professionals, and we also see it on that 40 to 50-year-old business owner realize that their business is so customized to them that no one could come in and be a CEO of it because only they know all the niche decisions. And so I'm always trying to standardize what we do at Stonebrook, because then we can repeatedly be successful with that same decision when these variables happen. So all in all, if you're flipping 2 houses, listing another one, wholesaling a deal, and then managing 10 on the side, who will you hire as your first employee? Because no one will be able to replicate managing the work that you do, because your revenue is coming from so many different directions. It takes so many different skill sets, and you're probably the entrepreneur that loves it, owns it, and has the skill set to do it. But most people that go into a 9-to-5, no one wants to do repeated tasks all day, every day. But predictability, ultimately, we all want it, which is you with your cash flow and your team with their cash flow, which is income. And with the tasks per day, they want to feel confident, because no one wants to go into work and feel like they're constantly trying to learn so they don't fail. Learning is great, but feeling like they fail every single day because of how niche of revenue activity that you do, you can't keep people around, because you probably are underpaying them because you can't figure out how to grow in any of these revenue activities, whether it be listing, flipping, wholesaling, managing a couple properties. Do one, scale, you'd be blown away. We're now at our 10th employee at Stonebrook Properties, and it's because we do long-term property management, and that's all we do. So if this helped you out at all, leave a comment down below. Hopefully next time we can get the audio to work. I'm literally using my headphones plugged in because these things died, because I've been on an hour call with Chelsea before this, recording the summary of what we talked about, because the audio didn't save it, sadly, because it was in the Google Meet. So either way, rent's due, so pay up, buddy.